part of government strategy to address the issue of urban migration has always been to develop rural areas. As part of this, the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition has approved a 50 million rand grant to develop a smart city in Nkuzana Village in Limpopo. This project is a partnership with the Masingita group of companies and is expected to integrate business, industrial and residential land uses. Let's get more details on this from entrepreneur Dr. Mike Nkuna, who's involved in all of this. Now, Mr. Nkuna, a pleasure to have you on the program, or Dr. Nkuna, should I say. So shortly before our interview, we were discussing just plans around this smart city and how it will include retail space as part of a bigger area that will be developed as part of this initiative. This sounds groundbreaking, to say the least. Just tell us a bit more about how this project will look like when it's finalized.
Well, thanks very much, Nhlanhla, and thanks very much to all the viewers in South Africa who are watching us. Indeed, it's a groundbreaking of, developing the smart cities in the rural areas. And by the way, I've been, a developer in these areas. As you are aware that, our country was segmented into 3 spheres, urban area, rural area, and township. And simply because, you see, our then government, which was an apartheid government, wanted development to happen in the urban area. Yes. Nothing happens in the township and rural area. But you see, I said, being a competitive mind and having a competitive mind and being a visionary. And I said, we cannot allow this kind of things to happen. Yeah. And I had to identify areas whereby, I can start, developing some more. And indeed, I've developed several malls in this country. And specifically, I've then decided to design and launch, the Nkuna city, in which, we are developing. We have started with phase 1, which is called Nkuna Crawl. And also, if you look into the entire plan, it integrates all the things that you talked about, industrials, filling station, hotel and conferencing, government offices, housing. Because you see, if you look how Sandton started, Sandton started the same way because it was a farm. In those days, you had the inner city, and then someone bought the farm in Sandton. They started with a smaller shopping center of 20,000 square meters. But you see, the people who designed Sandton, they had a vision to say, as it grows, it will grow in this way. So if you look how we put the concept of Nkuna City, we have put it along those lines. So we want to change and prevent people from moving from the rural areas or township to the cities, whereby they don't even have means of housing, and all what they do when they arrive there, they end up putting shacks.
Speaking about this change, it quite clearly responds to calls that were made by President Cyril Ramaphosa, calling on captains of industry in the private business industry to come on board and cooperate with government or assist government in realizing this dream of building smart cities. Clearly, this is a direct response to those kind of assertions.
Well, I would agree with you. It is a direct call, but see, it doesn't end there. It must be a direct call with clear commitment.
Yes.
Because you see, if you talk for PR exercise or talking for theoretical talk and then forget the practicality, it means nothing. So if you then say you want to be there, how do we work with private sector? Yeah. Because private sector, we are investors. And then government, they're also in business because, you see, government's role is in enabling, and, they provide, laws that govern of how business, it must be run. And also, they end up charging us rates and taxes. So for them, they have to bring money that will go into a bulk infrastructure. We are glad that, DTIC, they've given us, and they've given us that commitment of 50 million, which of course will be a grant. It will assist, but it's not a full amount in terms of the amount that is required in that development. So we'll need more. So at least you see, the president has seen it fit to say he wants to talk to us, and we welcome that. And he actually phoned me because he's passionate about, this. So we're waiting for the date for him to call us and say, come, and then let's assist. And because, you see, we're developing in the rural areas. Yeah. You'll recall that, in the olden days, we had the apartheid and the homeland. And those homeland was created by apartheid, which was very bad. But there were good things as well, as I can tell you that, those homeland, when they were built, there were bulk infrastructure that was created. But during those days, there was no PVC pipes. All what we had galvanized pipes. So all those pipes are rotten. And PVC pipes, they are able to last for 200 years. But you see, what we were supposed to have done when we moved in as a new government, we were supposed to have said, let's do an assessment and start by, fixing and changing the old pipes so that, when we expand in terms of bulk infrastructure, we expand from a sound base. Can you imagine going into an environment, you build a house without having a proper foundation? That house will collapse. Of course. So that's what happened. So currently, this government doesn't have any infrastructure. So we need a plan.
It's quite interesting you mentioned that because it brings me to my next question around just the kind of spin-offs that will come from such a project. Of course, this will respond to the need for jobs to be created for people who come from that community, but also it means a lot for just the socio-economic investment that's being made towards that community. Let's speak about that element now.
Well, look, what I can tell you, if we want to create jobs in those areas, because we have started. If I was the president of this country, but you see, I'll be talking to the real president. Myself, I'm a businessman. I know my position. I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman. I would say to the president, anyone who's supposed to develop, and create, industries in the rural areas, like what, the apartheid government did when they created the homeland. I've given, example about, Professor Nzangwisi, who was heading Gazankulu. There was a bus company that was manufacturing buses in Benoni called Basaf. And he managed to talk to them to move to Tzaneen on the basis that they will employ people. And indeed, he gave them a 15-year tax concession, and they ended up employing more than 6,500 jobs. Sure. So if this government can take that route, to say anyone who is investing in the rural areas, will give them concession. You'll find big guys, even those who are hiding money, taking that money and invest it there because, I know a lot of people, they are saying that they don't want to pay tax because of certain reason. Today I was listening to one, Afrikaner guy who was talking about, a lot of white people that have immigrated outside. He quoted more than 20 of them. And I was saying to myself, even if I can have 10 billion, I won't immigrate to London or anywhere in America because my ancestors are here. So we need people that are positive, people that love this country, people that have plans. When you listen to me talking, I have a plan of creating jobs. It's not, PR exercise. It's not
theory or whatever.
It's not theory. It's reality.
So it's quite exciting listening to your views, and I must say, I really wish we had more time to actually discuss your thoughts around socio-economic problems facing this country. But as we move on, I just want to find out from you, how has this project been received by the people who come from that community? Of course, there's been a collaboration that you've had with the Collins Chabane municipality, and residents, of course, also saw the fanfare that came with the launch a bit earlier this year. Speak to us about how residents have received this development or this vision that is being encompassed by what you're saying.
Well, it has been received by all people. You'll recall, in that area where I'm developing Nkuna City, there was, a problem with Vuani and the so-called, Komanani traditional chiefs. And, I was able to unite, people around economical, development, because when you create jobs, people, are hungry. But you see, when, there's no jobs, they'll start saying you are a vendor, you are a Shangan. But you see, if you create jobs, then, they come together. if I can tell you now, in that development, because we are on site, we are the only development that has taken off. And if I can tell you, the steering committee that governs that development, you know, it integrates the Shangans people and vendor, and of which, you know, the government has been trying to unite the Vuani people because of the demarcation. And we have done that. So it has been welcome, and I want to thank, you know, the Collins Chabani mayor and the MM, and I want to thank, you know, the Vembe district and the MM. Those people are very cooperative, are not like, you know, other people that I don't want to talk about here. But you see, we want to see a progress. We want to move forward, and we love this country, and there's no way we can move. And I'm saying that, you know, we are here as private sector, but we want government to come on board. We want government to commit. And I'm going to tell the president, commit.
And speaking about that commitment, and before I let you go, I just want to get your thoughts around the upcoming local government elections. You raised issues around the issue of demarcation that faces parts of the Collins Chabani municipality, as well as even water shortages that have affected residents quite greatly. Speak to us about your observations in this regard and what you hope to see. Yes, we're hearing politicians on the campaign trail making big promises, but residents are saying, or they're demanding, that their promises don't just become what's being said, but they want to see, like you said earlier, practical things being done to help address their issues.
You know what I'm trying to do now, what I'm doing? In fact, I'm writing a thesis about how we can turn the economy of this country around, and on a practical terms. You know, when you talk about something that you know best, you don't even have to prepare. You know, I'm coming here to your studio, I don't even have a paper. I don't have to refer to anything, because I know exactly how we can do it, and I know how the African government have done it. You know, you cannot grow the economy if you don't have the skills. So what the African government did at that time, they created Rao University, and then second to it, they then created, you know, the technicons, they then created, you know, the vocational. So we came in and, you know, we cut, you know, the technicons and the vocationary, whereby, you know, you were going to produce plumbers. That's why you find that, you know, those rotten pipes that, you know, each and every street, there's a sewage spilling. There's no one who's to fix it because we don't have skills.
Of course, of course. Mr. Nkuna, we surely do need a round two, or Dr. Nkuna, by the way.
Yes.
We do need to get a round two of this discussion, because your insights are quite interesting, not just based on developments or projects that you are involved in, but also of how issues regarding communities, especially rural communities that we're living in, need to be addressed. And it's not just the part of government, but also private business to also roll up their sleeves and get involved.
By the way, I became in fact, you see, I was the first, you know, to develop an organized shopping center in this country from the rural area and township. So I became the pioneer.
Of course.
So I understand this business out. And for me to got, you know, a loan from a bank called Forskas Bank, which was designed for Afrikaans people only, which was called Broederbond. For me to manage to get, you know, 1.5 million then, there was an outcry that, you know, a black person has broken the bank. And I would want to thank, you know, the very same bank, which was called Broederbond, but you see, they were able to give, you know, a black person because they realized that he understands what he's doing. And I want to thank banks like, you know, Nedbank that came to me and say, we want to hold you side by side so that, you know, you start developing the black areas. But you see, we are saying that if government is prepared and come and hold us, some of us, we believe, we're not thinking like, you know, the guy that I was talking about, that, you know, he's talking about those rich people who are immigrating. And I know a lot of people, they are sitting with money. They don't want to put it in this you know, government because of certain things.
Unfortunately, we have run out of time. Well, you've heard it from the man himself. That's Dr. Mike Nkuna of the Masingita Group, and the man behind the exciting Nkuna project, which is coming up, a multi-billion rand project. He says he's rolling up his sleeves and getting the work done, and has made big commitments as well.